What's up, guys? It's Monster Rez. We are back with another Thriller Thursday. Bing.
In the mask community, we get asked this question all the time. How do you guys paint masks? How do you paint a monster? Well, for all of you beginner mask makers out here, this is going to be just a super brief rundown of our process, not the process, but our process on how we make Monster Resurrection monsters.
So, yeah, let's get into it.
Okay, so again, like I said, there's a few different ways that you can go about this. If you're looking to create a really bold, almost comic book vibe with your monster, then we recommend starting with a nice latex base paint. We like to use Mabry Monsters Nightshades. These are the jam. They airbrush really, really well, and they stick like nobody's business. Say that you're doing like kind of a fleshy, zombie, monster-y guy, you would use Zombie Flesh Dark. So you take a little Zombie Flesh Dark, and you're just gonna base your entire mask with that, and it's gonna be one solid color. And like I said, if you're wanting to go for like a really bold comic book kind of vibe, you would start there and then move over to here, which would be the ink wash station. So we generally keep 3 different types of ink wash in the studio. We have a black ink wash, a nice red ink wash that's mixed with some brown to give it kind of a deeper red color, not so much like a flame red, but a little more organic. And then we have a nice brown ink wash. So you can literally take your mask that you have just based out in Mabry Monsters Nightshades. After it's dry, completely dry, you're gonna soak it in the ink wash color of your choosing. I generally like to do about 2 coats of ink wash where you can't see any more of the paint color that you based out your mask in. Hit that sucker with a blow dryer, dry it all down. And then you're gonna take a nice big sponge with a little 70% alcohol, soak that bad boy in there, and you're gonna wipe all of that ink off. And what's gonna happen is the ink that you sprayed on there is gonna stay in the cracks, and all of the highest points of your mask, the top points, are gonna wipe off. You're gonna see that nice dark zombie color, but you're also gonna see the details just pop, 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 pop with this brown wash or red wash or whatever you wanna do.
You can also do the rub out technique when you have just no base on your latex mask. Then you go on top of it with your nightshades and you kind of dust on top of it. Don't just go ham on it because then you're just gonna erase what you put on. But it's really good for starting kind of a realistic, dirty monster paint job.
I have an example. Basically, like he was saying, is we took this mask right here and we took the raw latex and did a heavy black ink wash on it, okay? If we were just to leave that ink wash on there, it would look very bold and comic booky. But what we did, since we started with the ink wash, we then went over it with our base color, and it pushes the ink wash back a few layers. You're still catching some of that detail in the cracks and the crevices, but it's not nearly as bold, and this is good to give more of like a realistic look and some nice shading, shadowing, and texturing.
Usually when you're done with your rub out process, then you go on to the FW inks or Liquitex inks. They're like the same thing to me. I mean, I can't notice a difference. It's really good for detailing, and it's really good for just like being really subtle. I mean, you thin them down with some water and some 99% alcohol, just a spritz of it. And honestly, you just go in there and it looks really nice.
Yeah, so these are acrylic-based inks, okay, just to be clear. So FW acrylic ink, Liquitex acrylic ink, and like he said, you put it in your paint cup, add a little splash of water and throw some 99% alcohol in there and give it a little mix. And what that 99% alcohol is gonna do is once you apply your acrylic ink onto the mask, it dries almost instantly. You'll notice if you don't put that 99% alcohol and you spray it on the mask, sometimes it'll blow out and it'll spread all over the damn place. It won't dry. It's the biggest pain in the ass. So if you take anything away from today, remember this. A little bit of water first, and then a little spritz of 99% alcohol for your acrylic inks, and it'll help it dry and stick really quickly.
And speaking of that, another thing is with FW inks, I suggest not going into the paint job super like, depends on what you're trying to create. But if you're trying to do something realistic, I suggest going really subtle and sneaking up on it and such. It's less is more.
That's the word right there, sneaking up on it. That's what our boy Donnie McCurry from Monster Man 37, he's always like, you just want to sneak up on it, man.
Yeah.
You just want to sneak up on it. So that's what you do, and that's a great way to just create some nice natural looking realistic detail. So the other day I had to make a neon green mask and I ran all out of my Mabry Neon Maniac green paint. I love these. These are fully UV reactive, make amazing glow in the dark type monsters.
Our slime monster from Eco Creeps.
Yeah, the slime man from Eco Creeps. But anyway, I ran out of green altogether. So here's a little trick that you can do that we learned from Ed Edmonds at Distortions Unlimited. I just bought some basic Liquitex acrylic paint, a nice neon green. And if you mix this with equal parts latex and water, a third, a third, and a third. So a third of the paint, a third water, and a third latex, mix them up real good. Then you've just created your own rubber mask paint, and it'll stick, and it'll glow in the dark, and it'll look great. And we do this all the time. Like we made this big old thing of Schmurple, we call it. But yeah, we make our own latex paint all the time. And like I said, equal parts water, latex, and this one is indoor house paint. Don't get the outdoor stuff.
It's got chemicals in it. It's gonna fuck up your paint job.
100%. So get indoor house paint if you're gonna make stuff like this. So if you wanna make your own stuff and make some crazy colors, you totally can. Yeah. A little quick jammer right here that we like to use for teeth is this Liquitex acrylic gouache. Unbleached titanium Liquitex. This is great for teeth. And you literally just put it on the end of a paintbrush and dab it onto your teeth, and it looks nice and thick and enamelly. Yep. We love this stuff. And then you can go over the top of it with a Liquitex acrylic ink or an FW acrylic ink, a little burnt umber or some yellow, and give it some nice natural coloring, some natural decay. We love this stuff. Yep. Great for teeth.
Don't put a shit ton of paint on your paintbrush with this stuff because it'll make it really like chalky and cracky. So just dry brush it on there, and honestly it'll look way better if you dry brush it on. So remember that.
For those of you that don't know what dry brushing is, why don't you explain it?
For example, you have paint on your brush. Pretend this is my brush. Okay. Instead of going directly on something with the paint, you just get a big old streak of paint. You dab it on like a paper towel or something till it has like some paint molecules or particles on it, and then you just go on top of it, and then it gives it like a cool texture. And it's nice for just going on the top of surfaces and not reaching inside of like cracks. So it's like a mini rub out in some way.
Mini ink wash.
Mini
rub
ink
out's
wash.
Such a weird word.
Yeah, it's a weird, just too white.
We're not rubbing anything out. But so back to the dry brushing, the way that you'll know that your paintbrush is ready to go is after you wipe that paint off, your brush won't be shiny and wet anymore. It will be dry. It's a dry brush, but it'll still have paint on it. And if you just lightly, wipe it on your mask, whichever area, the paint will come off. You'll see it stick and it'll look great.
It looks way better.
We covered bases, we covered ink washes, details, we covered making paint, we covered the kind of paint that we like to use.